In this video, we will discuss about the behavior of the cost curves in the short run. In the earlier videos, I told you about what is total cost, what is average cost, what is average fixed cost, what is marginal cost, etc. etc. So we're revisiting that discussion again. Total cost is nothing but total cost pertaining to the input cost or the entire input cost, both fixed plus variable. So that is the summation of total fixed cost and total variable cost. So that is total costs. Total fixed costs are all the cost incurred, all the cost pertaining to the fixed factor inputs, and total variable cost are all the cost pertaining to the variable factor inputs, and the summation of the two is the total cost. We have seen that in the last lecture. Now let us look at the behavior of the cost curves in the short run. For that purpose, I have written a cost schedule and represented it graphically. Let us, for example, let us take an example. Here I have written a cost schedule. Here you can see that here I have taken quantity, okay, that is to say output produced. Here we have total fixed cost and total variable cost and total cost. Okay, for example, let us say in any firm, or this is just an hypothetical example, when the quantity of output is 0, okay, so here I have measured the output here. So quantity is 0 to 8. So 1 unit, 2 unit, 3 unit, up to 8 units. In producing these quantities, the total fixed cost is 100 rupees. Okay. So basically, just as a hypothetical example, so 100 rupees. It is fixed. You can see that output is 8. Even then the total fixed, that is to say TFC is 100, and output is 0. Even then the TFC is 100. It is same throughout the output. It is same irrespective of the change in the level of output. Right? Now coming to the TVC, total variable cost. Now we know that the variable cost will change with the level of output, unlike the TFC, right? So here, when the output is 0, the total variable cost is 0. Why? Because output is 0. Okay, simple. But as output changes, as output increases from 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, up to 8, the total variable cost also changes. The total variable cost increases. When the increase in output is 1, total variable cost is 50. When it is 2, variable cost is 80. Output is 3, variable cost is 100. Likewise, when the output is 8 units, the total variable cost is 450 units. In the third column, or in the last column, I have added these two, or I have found out the total cost. So what is the total cost? Total cost is total fixed cost plus total variable cost. So the summation of the two. So what is total cost here? 100 plus 0, that is 100. 100 plus 50, that is 150. 100 plus 180, sorry, 100 plus 80, that is 180. 100 plus 100, that is 200. Likewise, we can find out the total cost. So here, therefore, I have written a schedule representing the total fixed cost and total variable cost. I have represented this cost schedule with the cost curves. On the x-axis we have output, on the y-axis we have costs, right? Now here in the, if you look at the curves, you can first of all look at the total fixed cost. So here the output is increasing from 0 to 8, okay? And look at the total fixed cost. Total fixed cost is same throughout the output. It does not change even if output is increasing. Okay, so that is the first thing to note. The other thing is, as variable cost changes or as output changes, the variable cost increases. So here, this is total variable cost. When output is 0, total variable cost is 0. But as output increases, the total variable cost increases. Okay. One thing is to notice here that this rise in total variable cost is not consistent at each level of output. That means when initially, in the initial phase, you can look at this phase. Okay, the total variable cost is increasing, but not substantially. Okay, but after a particular level of output, it increases substantially. Right? This is due to the law of variable proportions. This is a phase where the diminishing returns set in. Initially, you need less amount of input to obtain this level of output, but as diminishing returns set in, we need to deploy more input factors in order to get the same level of output. Therefore, that is, in other words, we say that the law of diminishing return is operating. So because of that, the total variable cost increases slowly initially in the beginning, but rises sharply afterwards. Reason? The law of diminishing returns. Fine? So that is the behavior of TVC curve. Coming to the total cost curve. I told you about TFC and TVC, now coming to the total cost curve. Okay, so if you just represent these values here, it will look something like this. If you look at TVC and TC, as TVC changes, the total cost changes. What is total cost? Is nothing but total variable cost plus total fixed cost, right? So one thing is to notice here is the total cost changes in the same proportion as that of the total variable cost. That is to say, the vertical difference between the total cost and total variable cost is the same as total fixed cost. Okay, so the total cost changes in the same proportion as that of the total variable cost. So these are some of the points that must be noted about the behavior of the cost curves. Here initially I have discussed about three costs only: total fixed cost, total variable cost, and total cost. As we move along, we will consider in this table I will add average fixed cost, average variable cost also, and the marginal cost. So for this lecture, I think this is enough. You have to just to end on a note, the behavior of the cost curves. Just to summarize it, TFC remains the same at all levels of output. TVC changes with the level of output. Initially, it increases at a slower rate, but afterwards, it increases rapidly due to the operation of law of diminishing returns. And TC changes in same proportion of TVC. Okay, so that is the behavior of short-run cost curves. So that is basically the behavior.